established rich coming right back at you. This one is heavy. I'm not even gonna pretend like it's not. This is one of those stories where you try to sit back and process how something like this could even happen. Before we get into any details, I want to say this clearly. My heart goes out to the family of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, because at the end of all of this, that's the part that matters. Everything else we're about to talk about is secondary to the fact that a 14-year-old girl lost her life. Now, the reason I'm even speaking on this is because new information has come out. And the more that comes out, the more uncomfortable this whole situation gets.
Hearing just wrapped up for singer David in his first-degree murder case.
The prosecution revealed details about disturbing digital evidence. Let's get to CBS LA's Rick Montanez with what we learned in court today. Rick, what are you hearing?
Amy, Chris, the hearing just wrapped up within the half hour here, and cameras were not allowed in court, but I can tell you that the defendant, David Burke, was in court today in shackles and wearing that orange jumpsuit. The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child found on Burke's cell phone. We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The report says, or I should say the family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up. That's according to a family statement. So this report says the 14-year-old girl died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy was difficult because of the severe decomposition of her dismembered body when it was found in the singer's abandoned Tesla last September. Officials say she died 5 months earlier in April of last year. Burke, the suspect known by his stage name David, was arrested last Thursday. On Monday, he pled not guilty to the capital murder charges. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor just a short time ago here on CBS LA Mornings about this new evidence revealed in today's hearing and the fact that David's phone, according to prosecutors, contains child.
And obviously, we don't know if it's Celeste Rivas's images and videos or something else, but that is a significant offense. Obviously, it helps prosecutors prove the sex crimes, the lewd and lascivious, Penal Code Section 288, but it's also a separate crime in and of itself. And it's certainly the possibility that the feds even step into this case because they typically will prosecute these types of child cases.
Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. That's the part that makes me pause. Because when you start hearing about digital evidence like that, it changes how you look at everything else connected to this case. And I'm going to keep this respectful. But anytime you hear about material involving minors in that context, you already know this is not a small detail. This is the type of thing that can shift the case completely and bring a whole different level of attention to the case. And this is where it stops feeling like one bad decision and starts feeling like something deeper. Because now people are not just asking what happened. They are asking, who is this person? Really? Now, here's the part that really threw me off when I first heard it. We're talking about somebody who was under investigation and still throwing parties in the Hollywood Hills.
Today, NBC4 Investigates obtained surveillance video that appears to show the defense attorney near the police scene minutes later. This afternoon, Blair Burke returned to the home where police arrested the singer and made no comments as she left.
The DA?
One neighbor actually told me that he's relieved that there was an arrest because he said that there have often been parties at this home. I asked if he's heard parties here recently. He said it's an ongoing problem. Either way, on Monday, we're expected to get our first look at David as he's expected in court in person in downtown Los Angeles.
Come on now. They don't even sound normal. And I'm not saying what it means legally. I'm saying from a human standpoint. That don't line up with how most people would move in that situation. If you know you being looked at for something serious like that, most people would get low. They would get quiet, stay out the way. But this right here, this feels like somebody moving like nothing could touch them. And that's the part that makes this uncomfortable because it comes off like there was no fear, no awareness, no weight to what was happening. And when people see that, they start trying to make sense of it in their own way. Now, the next part of this case is probably the hardest part to hear. And I'm going to handle this carefully because it doesn't need to be repeated in a graphic way. But the medical examiner's report is as serious as you think it would be.
Just received the autopsy report from the medical examiner in Celeste Rivas's death, for which David is now charged with her murder. And there are some interesting things, and we talked about this before, that we knew that the coroner had ruled this, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide, but we didn't know the cause of death. And the DA said they were stabbed, there was some kind of sharp
instrument was used.
Now we know, and what they're saying is there were 2 wounds in particular, and that they believe, and they use the word may, and the word may is going to be really important, which we'll talk about, that they may be penetrating wounds, which would not be wounds
To
dismember a body.
Right, because of where they are, they believe, is I think the main, and also
and the way they describe it is
itself.
They describe 2 penetrating wounds, one on the abdomen and one on the chest, and they describe them as, they tell you the depth and the length of these, and they say they have smooth edges. Indication seems to me that some sort of knife was plunged into her,
That's what they
and it
were
left
suggesting.
smooth edges.
The key is the length of the wounds. One is 3/4 of an inch, one is 9/16. So this size wound as the penetrative wound. These are
Which
not,
is an indication of the length of the blade.
and also a
width of
blade
the
that could not dismember a body, right? This would
Right.
not be
Right.
the same instrument used to dismember the body.
Now, the body was dismembered. They describe all that
Yeah.
in detail, but those types of cuts to take the body
Do
apart
they-
would be different than
does
knife
the
cuts.
report say anything about the dismemberment or what they believe was used?
They don't say what
No,
was
it does
used.
describe it
They
in
don't
a
say
lot
what
of
was used,
detail,
but
the pieces.
it's gruesome.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and repeat details because you don't need that to understand how serious this is. You can hear it in the way it's being described, and that's enough. And when you put all of this together, the digital side, the timeline, the behavior, and what the medical report is saying, it starts to paint a picture that's hard to ignore. Now, I've seen people online start connecting this to David's music.
Have you guys seen some of the music videos that David had released? Because I just saw the one for the song where he says, I don't care how long it takes. That one, that music video, if you look at it, the music video is about a young David with this young girl, and they're growing old together. And when they're on the beach, the actor who plays David's girlfriend looks super similar to Celeste Rivas. And when I say super similar, I honestly thought it was Celeste herself, but I looked up the information in the description of the video and it wasn't Celeste. It was a girl named, I think, Gabby. But y'all, the fact that this guy put so many clues in his music and his music videos just screams guilty to me. But also, this is going to be an insane case to do a deep dive on. They're going to have to go through all of his music, all of his videos, and connect the dots because it seems eerily similar.
Talking about certain themes and visuals, and I'm going to say this clearly. You have to be careful with that because music is not proof of anything in a courtroom. But at the same time, I can understand why people feel uncomfortable looking at certain things now. Because when real life and art start feeling like they overlap, it makes you look at everything different. And that's where we are right now with this case. People are trying to process what they're hearing while also trying to make sense of who they thought this person was. And that's not an easy thing to do. Now, as this case moves forward, you're going to hear different arguments from both sides. You're going to hear legal strategies, and you're going to start seeing people debate every detail. But through all of that, I don't want the main point to get lost. A young girl lost her life. And everything else, the discussions, the analytics, the videos, all of that comes second to that fact. So when we talk about this, it has to come with a level of care because this is not just content. This is somebody's real life that ended way too early. And that's something you can't turn into entertainment no matter how much you try. So I'm going to land it like this. This is one of those stories where you don't need no extra on top of it. We just need to pay attention and let the process play out. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.